Hi, I'm Rusty Cottrell. I've been interested in anti-aging since I was 15. I became a physical therapist and pursued that for most of my life.
And I'm Debbie Cottrell, registered dietitian, very, very interested in longevity and especially functional medicine. Today we want to take a look at an essential nutrient that has a huge impact in our lives. In fact, it has such a big impact that it makes a difference between the health, the all-cause mortality of smokers versus non-smokers. And with this nutrient, the smokers were on the same level. Crazy thought. We'll get into that more in a little bit.
And we're not recommending smoking, just so you know
No.
for sure.
So we want to talk today about omega-3s. It's an essential fatty acid that powers your brain, your heart, your mood. And we want to learn how to choose the right kinds of fats to make that biggest impact. So what are omega-3s?
Well, there's three types: ALA, EPA, and DHA.
So ALA comes from
Plants.
plants like flax, chia, walnuts, hemp. And the EPA and the DHA?
Well, a fish, and if you're a vegan, then you can do algae.
So that would be your real fatty fishes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we look at fish, we especially want to make sure that, number one, it's not factory farmed. Number two, that it's not high in metals, heavy metals, because that's one thing you have to watch out for fish and fish oils.
Yeah, and the benefit of EPA and DHA is it's more biologically active form. The plant source ALA, your body has to then transform it into the biologically active omega-3. So essentially, they're called essential fatty acids because we don't make them. We need to get them into our diet.
Right, absolutely. So a healthy balance tip, when we think of essential fatty acids, there's a few different kinds. So in the media today, you've probably heard about omega-6 and omega-3s. Well, there's a healthy ratio of those two, and it's roughly 4-to-1 or less. It could be 3-to-1 or 2-to-1.
So 4 omega-6 to 1 omega-3?
That's right. The typical Western diet, however, and this is scary, is anywhere from 15 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 or up to 25-to-1. That is way too inflammatory. That's crazy inflammatory for our cells. So in order to rebalance, what do we need to do?
Well, eat more fish, chia, flax, walnuts, or algae oil.
To raise the omega-3s.
Omega-3s, yes.
And
then I would also reduce those omega-6 oils. You find those in corn, soy, cottonseed, grapeseed.
sunflower, safflower.
Yep, safflower.
Yes. Those are really common ones in a lot of processed foods. So pretty much if you're eating a processed food, even salad dressings, primarily they have the bean and seed oils. So those are going to give you a lot more of the omega-6, throwing off that good healthy ratio.
So if you're not paying attention to your omega-3 and omega-6 oil ratio, you're most likely in that 15 to 25 bad spot.
So now that we're talking about oils, you may be asking, okay, so what do I cook with if I've been using vegetable oils? And the one thing that we like to recommend is coconut oil. And some people may say, well, I cook with olive oil or with avocado oil.
They're better than
the vegetable oils. But the reality is those are better used cold. So the cooking with the coconut oil seems to be the best.
When you heat an avocado or omega-3, even though it can handle more heat than the seed oils, it still denatures it somewhat. So it's not as healthy for you.
That's right. And ideally, cooking with less oil is simply optimum.
So omega-3s are like building blocks of cell membranes, and they improve cell-to-cell communication and actually lower inflammation. Imagine the surface of a cell, and the omega-3s is what's really building that. If that surface is not receptive as it can be to communication, that's why omega-3s are so important.
So it's kind of like an oil that keeps your biological gears running. are turning.
You can say that.
So what are some of the proven benefits of using omega-3 oils?
Heart, you're going to support healthy triglyceride levels and just improving overall cardiovascular health.
And the brain, it's super important for memory and focus.
In fact, have you ever maybe you've gone into a room and forget what you went to get there? Well, that starts to happen as we get older, get those trips around the sun. And I was actually experiencing that, and I added more omega-3 into my intake, and within 2 weeks, I wasn't forgetting what I went to get in that room. And when when it happens, you have to go out to where you had the thought, and then it comes back and you go into the room and get it. I didn't have to do that.
That is awesome. It's also super helpful for mood. It's being used to help with depression and anxiety because of its positive effect with the mood and balancing the emotions and reducing those depressive symptoms.
When you think about the brain, omega-3s, and they're anti-inflammatory, and inflammation of the brain is really a large cause of many different symptom processes.
That's right. It's also super important for pregnancy, essential for the fetus brain and eye development. So very important to have omega-3s when you're pregnant. And besides pregnancy, it's super important for hormones. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
In the very beginning, we told you about smokers having the same all-cause mortality results as non-smokers without this essential nutrient. Tell us more about that study.
Well, it was an interesting study. It was one study that was done by the Fatty Acid Research Group. And they were looking at the omega-3 levels and all-cause mortality, as you mentioned. And interesting, in all of their research, they noticed the difference between smokers and non-smokers. People that had high omega levels, index levels, and didn't smoke, they were the best off.
Yes.
So the interesting thing was that smokers with a high omega-3 index had the same all-cause mortality as non-smokers with a low omega-3 index. That was amazing. They were quite surprised at that. So you may be thinking in terms of how much omega-3 do I need to get in my diet every single day? So for general wellness,
250 to 500 milligrams a day. That's general. That's low, but general.
yes. And for pregnancy, 300 to 600 milligrams, in particular the DHA per day.
Yeah. We're aiming for an omega-3 index of 8%.
And again, that's through blood tests. They can test that. So it's a good one to add into your routine blood work every year to see where your levels are at. What about food sources?
Well, fatty fish.
And again, as we mentioned earlier, we don't want factory farmed. We want wild caught, and we want to make sure that it's a type of fish that is lower in the heavy metals. And then as far as vegetarian sources or vegan sources.
We eat flaxseed and chia a lot, and walnuts.
And those are super important for the ALA. Yeah.
That your body can, in circumstances, translate into a usable form.
That's right. So when you're choosing a quality supplement, it's super important to check the label for EPA and DHA content. How about for vegans?
Yeah, you'd want to go for that algae-based DHA.
That's right. And what about those infamous fish burps?
What that's telling you is that basically it's been oxidized, and you're getting more oxidative stress, which we can talk about in another time, but you don't want to do that. Just throw it out.
Absolutely. Choose a different brand. So some safety and precautions. Generally, it's safe. Some people may have a little mild GI effect, and I have not heard of that personally, but it is sometimes out there.
High doses may thin the blood, so if you're on anticoagulant medications, you want to consult your doctor for sure.
And avoid the mega doses unless it's prescribed. Benefit time frames, like if they're looking for a difference in the mood or like depression or anxiety, what would that
You probably
time frame
notice
be?
that in weeks, basically.
Okay.
Just weeks.
And how about looking for a cardiovascular?
Months. We're talking months.
It might take months
Yeah,
to
and,
see that change.
90 days would be, you take a blood test, and then 90 days later you take a blood test. Probably
Right.
going to show a difference.
That's right. So just a few final thoughts to kind of wrap it all up. These omega-3s are a little tiny fat with a huge payoff and fuel your heart, your brain, your cells for lifelong health.
One of the most important ones actually is supporting hormones, key hormones.
So those key hormones be like the adrenal gland, thyroid, sex hormones, and helping with insulin sensitivity, although that's not a hormone per se. But let's share with them a little bit about the hormone balance.
Yeah, so we noticed that with our daughters especially, and you did, that when you combine trace minerals with omega-3 fatty acids, which are the building blocks for hormones, and if you have more interest in that, check out this video up right here. But talk about that a little bit.
Super important and in that video we talk a little bit more about this, so just to keep it brief, when my hormones started to get out of whack, and I tried some bioidentical natural hormones, and I was not a happy camper on those, and my family, they didn't like it either. So I did my research, and I found out that essential fatty acids and trace minerals are super important building blocks for those hormones. And once I got those balanced in my system, my hormone levels balanced right out. And we noticed it with our daughters as well, to the point where their brothers would oftentimes say, "Have you taken your trace minerals and your essential fatty acids today?"
It was a family joke.
That's right. So we're glad that you joined us today, and please subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. And we'd love to have you pass this on to other people that you know could benefit from a little deeper dive into omega-3s. And until next time, aloha.